So welcome to the second ESD Talk with the title Uncovering Skills for the Future in Healthcare. This is part of a series hosted in the context of Erasmus+, Centers of Vocational Excellence by the project Teach for SD. For the next 4 years, we will host 4 ESD Talks a year, in which we will explore ESD from different angles. At the last ESD Talk, we had the pleasure of meeting Ms. Vera Luna from DG EMPL, presenting a talk on the European state of the art for future skills and green competencies. Are you curious about this? You can find a streamed video version, which is available at our website, teachforsd.com. Today, we're here on a very interesting talk on the health sector from an ESD perspective. So thank you all for joining. I expect this to be a super interesting discussion. We're currently experiencing a struggling healthcare sector due to, for example, an increased elderly population. These existing problems are exacerbated by the climate crisis. And with these societal challenges, there's a growing need to identify and develop sustainable skills. To tackle these future and current issues, we need new green skills in the healthcare sector. So in today's program, we'll present you with different perspectives on skills in the healthcare sector throughout the next 45 minutes. Opening the discussion, we have a presentation on the Pact for Skills from the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, EIT, Health. Following this is a panel discussion on the implementation of ESD in the healthcare sector. So before we begin, just a few virtual house rules. Please keep your microphone muted. Questions? Feel free to write them in the chat, and our chat master will collect them for the panel discussion. Also, please put the name if it's a specific person you asked the question for. And now, moving into our keynote on Pact for Skills, EIT Health, it's time to give the floor to Claire Nasiet, Head of Innovation, Adoption and Healthcare Transformation, EIT Health, and Per Horn, EIT Health Scandinavia. Thank you so much for joining us today. Following the panel discussion later, we will have a Q&A. So if you have any questions for Claire or Pierre, please remember them so that you can ask them after the panel discussion, where we'll have some time for questions. So please, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you. And hello, everyone. It's nice to be with you in this afternoon. I'll be sharing our screen so you can have a bit of slides, and my colleague Per will present first who we are. Maybe you never heard of EIT or EITLs, and then I'll tell you a bit more about the skills partnership. So Per, when you're ready to move to the next slide, just say so and I'll do it.
That's great. Thank you, and very nice meeting you all, and thanks for the invitation. I will just give a brief introduction to what EIT is, or the European Institution of Innovation and Technology. Next slide. We were established as a community in 2008 to tackle some of the global challenges that we face in various areas. So next slide. So EIT set up as a multiple knowledge innovation communities, where EIT Health is one of them, but I believe we are now 8 or 9, I cannot remember in particular, but what we tend to do, or what the premises is for tackling these global challenges, is to combine education with innovation and business creation. Next slide. In EIT Health, next slide. We are one of these KICs. As I mentioned, we are a partnership-based organization which is spread all over Europe. You can see in the bottom right where we are. I'm in Scandinavia, Claire is sitting in France, but we have similar co-location centers spread all over Europe. So you have a local representative from EIT Health very nearby, wherever you are. Next slide. So our partners include industry, universities, healthcare providers, healthcare payers, incubators, and regions. So we cover the whole healthcare chain. Next slide, please. And as mentioned, we we have this mantra in ERT in general that without education there is no innovation, and without innovation there is no business creation. So by applying this, next slide please, we have supported 2,500 startups since our inception in 2016. And these startups have attracted 1.9 billion euros over the time. In addition, we also train patients and citizens, professionals, students, and in general, we try to support everything from the basics to. And next slide, please. And next slide. Yeah. So some of the flagships that we have defined within ERT Health are centered around new models to deliver healthcare, digital transformation of healthcare, and the reindustrialization of Europe, formerly known as the important project of common European interest. These are major challenges that we try to address by setting up consortia, making use of our partners as well as non-partners and other stakeholders to deliver new models with a patient-centric focus, and also to increase the uptake of digital solutions in the healthcare to reduce healthcare spendings, reduce administrative burdens. Next slide, please. And these are in Scandinavia, where I belong, are some of the partners, or all of the partners that we have in our region. And as you can see, it includes Karolinska Institute and KTH, some of the major universities. But we also have Region Stockholm, Region Hovedstaden, a few industry partners, including Ramsay Santé, and some incubators. I think that would be my brief introduction to ERT Health. So over to you, Claire. Thank you.
Thank you, Per. And within ERT Health, I'm looking more at the questions of education and skills. So I will tell you a bit about the Pact for Skills, or the skills partnership for the health ecosystem. So this is a bit of a weird, ugly formatting, but it gives you a vision, I hope, of what education activities and programs ERT Health is supporting with the universities or the different training providers in the industry implementing the education activities with the ERT Health support. So we look at giving entrepreneurship and innovation skills, so to students, to young innovators through summer schools, through masters and PhDs, for example. And we look also at upskilling and reskilling, so people who are already on the job, it may be healthcare professionals, it may be the staff in the companies or in the industry, maybe also patients or population, because we do have some activities looking at how to give the necessary skills. It may be digital health skills for patients to improve prevention, for example. And all of that is supported by what you see at the bottom, which is called the ERT Health Academy, which is a learning management platform where you can have access to the catalog of training and also have work together with our teams if you have ideas for trainings that you would like to be developed, and especially moving into an online or hybrid format. And I'm here more specifically to talk to you about the skills partnership, which in the European world and terminology are called Pacts for Skills, or LSP, which stands for Large Scale Partnership. And to give you a bit of a background and foundation knowledge, a partnership is a community of different organizations that want to upskill and reskill the workforce of a specific industrial ecosystem. For example, there are partnerships for the textile industry, there are partnerships for the aeronautics industry, the automobile industry, and so on. And the typical stakeholders that you would find in those partnerships are training providers. So it could be university, higher education institute, but also very much vocational training providers. You would have industry stakeholders, big and small. You would have public authorities at the regional, at the local, at the national level, depending on how the countries are structured. You would have social partners, as in trade unions, or ministries or agencies of the Ministry of Social Affairs or Labor. You would have research actors, because all of those partnerships need to anticipate the future, to build up a vision of what kind of skills and how the workforce will evolve in their ecosystem in the next years. So there are also research companies or organizations that have this capacity to do needs assessment for the future. And the typical activities that you find in every partnership, no matter the ecosystem, if it's automotive or renewable energies, all of the partnership do skills intelligence. So, trying to map the current actual needs and the mismatch, but also very much looking at the future so that the training offer can be adapted and boosted. Skill strategy, coming together as an ecosystem and agreeing on a roadmap for the next 5-10 years, also in alignment with the public stakeholders, whether regional or European. Delivering training programs or scaling training programs that already exist and answer the skills need, and a lot of connection between the private and the public ecosystem to bridge, to really act as a bridge and work together towards the common goal of having a skilled workforce. Now, if we look now at the health ecosystem partnerships that exist, there are 3 partnerships that exist. One of them is targeting the health industry, and this is the one I will tell you a bit more about because the ATLs is the coordinator of this one. But the workforce that is targeted is the staff, the people in the companies of the pharmaceutical industries, of the medtech companies, of the digital health companies. The second partnership is called Be Well, and it's coordinated by the European Health Management Association in EURIGA. And it's looking at the healthcare professionals, so the nurses, the doctors, the midwives, the physicians, and so on. And it has a specific focus on the green skills that those practitioners need to acquire along with the digital transition. And the third partnership in the health ecosystem is looking at long-term care, so people with disability, but also elderly people staying at home, and also the workforce that this partnership is trying to cater for are the social workers, or it could be also a workforce in the long-term care. So sometimes it's a bit of a blend with the previous one, the Be Well, with the nurses, for example. Each partnership has what is called a manifesto, or an agreement, if you want, that presents the context of why this partnership was set up, what is the problem that this partnership is addressing, and the vision and the solution it's trying to implement, as well as the organizations that have adhered to the partnership. So if you're interested in knowing more about those individual partnerships, you can always find their manifesto online, and it also has a contact person that you can get in touch with. And I'm here to also tell you a bit more about this industry Pact for Skills, the Health Industry Pact for Skills, because this is the one that EHLs is coordinating. It is quite recent. It has emerged as a need after the COVID crisis, and it's linked with many of the recovery plans that Europe and the different countries have implemented, with an emphasis on we need to reclaim autonomy and independence in the manufacturing of vaccines, the manufacturing of drugs, the manufacturing of the medical devices, so that we have better access as patients in the EU to these solutions. So the focus, or let's say the different subsectors that are part of this partnership, it's the pharmaceutical industry, the biomanufacturing industry, the medical devices, medtech industry, and the digital health industry. So the companies that deploy digital solution with a specific health application. And one of the key points is to really enhance the collaboration between the university or the initial learning training providers that train the graduates and the future generation, let's say, of staff and the workforce, really enhance the collaboration with the industry to make sure that the curriculums in the masters, in the bachelors, in the PhDs are more in line with the needs from the industry as employer. And one of the other focus that I would like to mention is diversity of the workforce, especially, and it's linked to the fact that there are not enough women and female students in STEM curriculums. But our partnership also would like to put the emphasis on having a more diverse workforce in the health industry, to make sure that the solutions that are deployed also fits the diversity of the patients or the citizens' need. You can have a quick look and see if you spot any of the organizations that you represent or any organizations you work with, but those are the members in our partnership, so in the European Health Industry Partnership as of last month, so it's about 40 plus members. And you see universities or training providers from different countries, for example, Trinity College in Dublin, University of Barcelona in Spain. You would see the University of Krems in Austria, for example. You see industry representatives, either with associations or industry in themselves, for example, such as Medtronic or Boston Scientific, but you also have the industry associations such as Digital Europe, that represents digital companies, or EFPIA, that represents the pharmaceutical company at the European level. You also have clusters or those kind of innovation agencies that represent startups or SMEs, and also technological transfer offices, or links between the research, the academic, and the business side. And we're quite lacking, I have to say, members from the public authorities profile. We have a couple. We have an Italian organization, Promise, for example, but we really much looking to expand our partnership with the local or national public authorities, because it's an important part of the equation for upskilling and reskilling. And we've been created in December 2023, so we're still very young. The skills partnership are instruments that are typically quite long-term. Think of them as lasting 10, maybe 15 years. So we're quite young. We're at the beginning of the story. So we're still designing how we work, a bit of governance work to create, for example, a steering committee to help design the strategy. We have already started to collaborate on proposals for to fund training activities and skills intelligence. So we have submitted a what is called the blueprint proposal under the Erasmus call to fund the first phase of activity, and especially to fund training for the most urgent needs in the industry, so manufacturing, regulatory affairs, this kind of needs. And with the 40 different members, they have started to interact and to develop their own projects together, especially with still very much focusing on the part of the discussion of the problem. What are the skills that you are lacking today? How will this evolve in the next years? How does the curriculum align with this, with the skills that are needed? If you're interested in joining the pact, I have as well a couple of slides that you can read after, because they're a bit quite texty on reasons or benefits of joining the skills partnership. The main reason is we're a great area for collaboration and networking, specifically focused. I mean, you will have people that have an interest in the skills issue, upskilling, reskilling, finding out what the skills of the future have. So it's a great forum for this kind of collaboration. It's also a place where you, as an institution that has a piece of the puzzle, can have your say. We have working groups. We will have a skill strategy that will be co-designed and then validated with the ecosystem. So it's a place where you can express your insights so that we can try to influence policy at different levels. For those that represents the training providers in the audience, I think it's a nice way to be more in touch with the needs from the industry and the employer, and so to enhance the relevance of the programs that you propose to your learners. And it's a great place to collaborate on different funding opportunities, especially EU funding opportunities, for skills development activities or trainings, for example, either developing brand new trainings or adapting or scaling trainings that you already have in your portfolio or in the pipeline. If you're interested a bit on the how, I would suggest that we have a chat to get to know each other, your organization, what is your work already on the skills issue. And also a great first point, as I was mentioning for the others, Pact for Skill, is to read through the manifesto or the partnership agreement, because it gives you the scope and the background of why it was set up. Sometimes it requires a bit of a discussion internally within your organization to confirm the interest of joining. There's a letter that we make you sign, and then there's a bit of administrative work on the website where you need to confirm the registration to officially appear in my slide with all of the logos of the members. This I will move on because they're a bit texty, but it's something to take home for you to understand a bit of the expectations, also in terms of investment and commitment, and what you can expect in terms of resources in the pact, as well as a bit more on the reasons to join the pact, whether you're in this industry or training provider. And a bit of a closing statement from me. Also think of EATLs. We have education programs that are open, that are looking for learners, and I just compiled a few that are currently open. For example, there are summer schools looking at value-based healthcare or digital medical devices that are still recruiting for students. There's a bit as well on lifelong learning with a course on biobanks, for example, and biomedicine that is open for application. And for those who are in contact with a more younger entrepreneurs audience, there's a couple of courses on the right of this slide on entrepreneurship and innovation skills. And we have loads more. So if you're interested, and think of EATLs as a way where you can access training, where you can understand more about the catalog of education programs we have that could fit your needs. You can scan the little QR code here and be signed up to the newsletter specifically for the education programs to learn more. And I think that's all from us at EATLs. Thanks a lot for listening to us, and we look forward to engaging with the panel. And also I saw a couple of chats popping up on my screen, so maybe there are questions for us.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this great presentation on the Pact for Skills, and hopefully a lot of our listeners are being inspired to join you, and hopefully also join us in the Q&A later on. So thank you again, and thank you for sticking with us today. So moving on, we have a very interesting panel with us today to discuss the more practice-oriented side of this. So joining us in the panel today is Susanne Jastrup, Head of Education for the Nursing Program at VIA University College. And we have Sigrid Amalie Beierholm, Student Ambassador for the SDGs at VIA University College. And then online, are you out there? Ms. Birgitte Våge Nielsen, Educator at VIA University College.
Yes, I'm here, but I'm not allowed to put on my camera. Sorry.
Okay, but we can hear you fine. Just a short practicality. If you could limit your answer to a maximum of 3 minutes, we have time for some questions from the audience as well. Hello, Birgitte. So beginning with Susanne, you're representing the organizational perspective, and from your viewpoint as Head of Education, what are the main challenges in implementing ESD across multiple disciplines?
Thank you for the invitation to join here today. I think it's important first to see what are our goals, what do we have to do? And our main goal here for me and the education here in VIA is to make sure that we educate healthcare professionals for now and for the future. And in the future, healthcare professionals, they need to know and they need to act according to sustainability. Because in the healthcare industry, we use so many utensils, we use so much medicine, and there's also a big turnover in staff and so on. There's a need for thinking in sustainability. So we have to teach these students to act like that when they graduate from us. And I just heard the word green skills. I like that. We need to give them green skills. But first, we need to have a strategic plan. What do we need to do? We have to focus on the curriculum, and we have to make an implementation plan. And in order to give the students green skills, we need educators who can provide them green skills. And that's why it's great to be a part of this Teach for SD, because it's possible for our educators to get these competences so they can tell the students the how and the why we need to know about sustainability. And so we need teachers who are engaged in the subject, and we need teachers who can show the students how to do it, skills and knowledge. Mm-hmm. And we also need to collaborate with the profession because the students also need to work on sustainability while doing clinical hours, but also we need to do it according to the practice that we have. How do the industry do it? How do they do it in practice? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Susanne. I really like the point about we need to be strategic. There's a here and now. What can we do right now? But there's also a future perspective.
Yeah.
So we need to balance those two.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And moving on to the student perspective, Sigrid, we've chosen to become an SGD ambassador. Could you tell us a little bit about why did you choose this? And can you also elaborate on the student perspective on the inclusion of green skills in the health education?
First, I chose to join this SDG ambassador course. I think I lacked the option to get this knowledge and these skills that you are also talking about in directly in my education. I think I wanted some more. Maybe I also needed some more motivation. How can I go when I'm done here studying? I have to go out there in the real world, and what can I do good in the real world? Yeah. And then now next week I have my exam, and then I'm officially an ambassador, and it's been I've learned a lot. I think I've learned mostly I've learned by talking to the other students. I think that a big part of why this course is giving for me is because we are 25 students here in Aarhus who are all from different educations, different semesters, and we join together and have these discussions and have this conversation. And I think that's really important. It is to start this conversation.
Yeah. And if I might, congratulations on only a week left, you said. But also, you said you searched for something outside of the regular curriculum. What advice would you give to us and teachers and leaders if we are to implement it into the ordinary curriculum? What do you think the first step is?
I think it's a very good question, but it's really hard for me to answer. I think when looking at us students, looking at myself, looking at my friends, I see kind of two groups of students. I think because a lot of us have grown up hearing about this crisis, and that we need to take action, and it's now or never. And I think that maybe it's been difficult for us to take action, and then it's become kind of overwhelming. And I think a lot of us are quite scared to even open up this box of problems.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, I think there's a group of students who are kind of tired and bored. And I think the reason is the same. We've heard about this since we were very young, and we hear about it all the time. And it's all these, and I just said that the conversation is important. It is, but it's also really important to learn how to take action. Because then it all just become words, and then you become bored and tired. So I don't know how to answer the question. I think it's important to have it in your mindset when teaching every subject. So not only the lessons on sustainability, but have it like so it's more just integrated, and it becomes the norm that we think about it in everything we do.
Thank you so much, Sigrid. And more action. Birgitte.
Yeah.
That's a great layover to you. So can you tell us a little bit about your experiences in the implementation of ESD? What motivated you? Have you had any surprises in the implementation?
I really agree with Sigrid about the things she talked about when she talked about acting, but I will say a bit more about that later. But I've tried to take the teacher's perspective. So I will also start, as you, Susanne, with the why we need education for sustainable development for the health professions. And I really think we need, as a lot of other professions, if we should achieve the 17 SDGs and overcome the global challenges, we just need to change a lot in our everyday, but also in our professional life. Mm-hmm. But I also think that education plays a major role in this transformation by enabling our students to develop the right competences, knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And I think also that we in the Danish health system have quite a lot of problems to deal with right here now. We have 15 to 30% of our activities that are inappropriate or irrelevant, as research shows us. And we also have social inequality in health, and we have an increased incidence of mental disorders. And we have rising expenses since 2010. And as Susanne said, we have problems with recruitment and retention in the sector. So I think we have a lot to act upon in the health sector. So that was the why. And then the how. How are we going to do it? So I agree that the health sector also plays an important role in minimizing its impact on the environment. But I think the task in the education is much broader than that. It's about securing the right competences for our students, as we just have been talking about in this panel debate. And for me as a teacher, I'm very inspired by EU Greencom as a framework for education. And we have here 12 different kinds of competences, but I would particularly like to highlight competences such as understanding complexities, using the competence system thinking, daring to look into the futures, using futures literacy, and then also being able to use the competence act, and by that act on opportunities in a qualified manner. And if we can't act, we will also lose the hope for the future. So we really need to have this balance between hope and acting and understanding all the problems. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in the end, I would like to look into the futures. And I think we fail to understand what's in front of us in the health sector. We have this climate changes. It's like a ticking bomb beneath our health sector, and it's just around the corner. And if we take a global view, we see many very fragile health sectors hardly able to host new problems, hardly able to handle a host of new problems based on climate changes, such as extreme weather events and health risks like injury and mortality, or heat waves, with health risks like heat-related illness, or air pollution with health risks like respiratory illness. So there are so many things if we have this global perspective also. Mm. So that's why I think it's very important with ESD education for sustainable development. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Birgitte. And I also agree with you and are very interested in tools such as systemic thinking. Perhaps it can catch some of what you said, Seal, as well, where you actually, instead of addressing the whole issue and the huge complexity it is, you can actually see where can you make a difference within that system. So hopefully that will be a part of this movement. So thank you very much for your perspective in this short panel. We will now open up for questions in the chat. So please write your questions there, and you can also write questions directly for Claire or Per, or Per and Claire. You can also tap in if you have any if you have something to contribute with in the other questions here. I will start out until we get some questions in the chat. And I'm a bit interested in the perspective on futures, as you said as well, Susanne. So how do you see the sustainable development in healthcare education in 10 years?
In 10 years, it's integrated.
Yeah.
So we think about it as an integrated part. There's some key words in healthcare education that the students need to know about clinical decision making, and they need to do clinical leadership, and they need to do critical thinking. And in the future, like you said, sustainability is a part of that. So you always think about the resources. If we do this patient plan and we do this, how many resources do we use, and is it the best way, and what is the right thing to do? Yeah. So, and there's also things we need not to do because we use too many materials, we use too much plastic. Think of the corona crisis, how many gloves and so on. We can't do that in the future. We have to do it in other ways. And in the future, healthcare professionals, they will have a lot of more utensils that can be used again and so on. So there is a new practice. Yeah.
So great. I hope you're right, that it's integrated into everything in 10 years. I think Pierre or Claire, where do you hope we are in 10 years? Where has the Pact for Skills brought us?
I think we would know what the future 10 years after that look like, because a lot of what we need to figure out is how do we future-proof the workforce, and because we're in there's a long-term gain, and probably the people in the panel know more about this than me, but it takes time to change curriculums and to adapt the different training programs with the universities, with the different training providers. So it's I would say we're figuring out the next 10 years after that, and we have implemented the skill strategy for the most urgent needs, and Europe is in a better place to have the necessary workforce to deploy innovation for all of us, the patients and the citizens.
Thank you so much. And moving into more of it's a little bit more local perspective. How do you think implementing ESDs at VIA University College, how has it been received?
I think for me, I'm lucky to, besides being a student on the course, to the SDG Ambassador course, I've also been invited to be a part of the organization behind. And I've learned how difficult it is to implement something new. Here, I've only tried it in VIA, so I can only speak for that. I think there's many different aspects to implementing a new thing. I know that it's not, there's some economy and a lot of different things I know nothing about. But it's been very difficult to get, to be allowed to have this course and to present it to the students. And it's mostly been, it's not the students who are the problem. I think it's higher up that it's really difficult to get your voice through. Yeah. And I hope that will be easier in the future.
So going on into the future, we should open up more for the student voices.
I think there is room for more creativity and more voices to be heard. Yes.
Birgitte, I heard you nodding verbally to what Sigrid said. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I think it's very important that when we do ESD, Education for Sustainable Development, we do it through the professions. So we don't do it like an add-on. You know, then we have 2 hours about the 17 SDGs. We need to do it through professions. And I also think that it will give the teacher another role, because you can't teach sustainability. You have to, as a student, you need to have this kind of ownership to sustainable development. And I think you do that by facilitate processes in your teaching, instead of just standing in front of them telling about the SDGs, for instance. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Birgitte. I think we'll take one of the questions here as well. this is for all of you. So what is the main obstacle for a more widespread implementation of a stronger focus on sustainable competencies in VIA's health education or health education more widely?
Yes.
Yes,
Can I say
Birgitte,
something?
you can
Yes,
say
yes, 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 yes.
all you want.
I'm not sure you saw my hand. Well, I think teachers then they need to have the right competences to teach sustainable in education for sustainable development. And then I think I have learned from VIA that it's also very important that we have the leaders behind the new competences. When teachers then come back with new competences, we also need leaders to be interested and having the resources to do something with the new competences. And it's also about getting inspiration from colleagues around the world, because we do not have all the solutions. So it's also about networking and also to risk to not succeed all the time. So we also need to have some kind of laboratory exercises where we can try things, because we don't know for sure what we need in the futures. So we need to have a lot of knowledge and experience with this part, in my opinion. Yeah.
Thank you, Birgitte. I think also going outside of the education, when looking at the future employers or industries, I don't know, Pierre or Claire, if you have some perspectives here, what role does the future employer need to play in this?
I think from my experience in the Pact for Skills group, the digital box, they know what's in it. They've opened it, how it translates in terms of skills and jobs, they do. The green box, the green transition box is a bit unopened, and some of them are trying to figure out how that translates into jobs that don't exist yet within their own company or their own structure, and they don't even know where to place those jobs, because this green transition, environmental transition is sort of owned by everyone, but then in the end by no one. It's what you said, that in the future it should be integrated. It's that, but they still, some companies are still at this point in their structuring or trying to understand how does this impact my business, because they're companies, so they think bottom line as well, but also how what job that will mean, what kind of profile will I need, and what kind of skills will I need. And so they're not ready yet, I think, to have this conversation with the training side, because they're not able yet to say, this is what I need. This is what when I do clinical trials in 5 years with more sustainability in terms of environmental definition, this is what I will need in a whole profile. They're not clear yet on that. So I think it's questions time still, asking the right questions before we can get the right answers.
Thank you so much, Claire. And we're actually running out of time for this, but I think it's been hugely interesting. I just want to ask quickly if you can have a quick reply, if some of you could. When looking at Teach for SD, what are you particularly excited about?
You want? Yeah, I'm excited about the fact that I can send my educators to a program where they can learn more about sustainability, focused on the healthcare profession. So hopefully they come back with new ideas and a new knowledge that they want to implement in their education, and that they can tell the students, and the students can be inspired by. Because the students, they have so many examples of how we use too much materials, how we could do better, and they need a language for that. They need methods to act on that.
So hopefully we're a part of the movement. I think I have to close down, unfortunately, even though it's super interesting. But you can find the information if you want to to contact Claire or Per. There's also information on Teach for SD. Also, if you want to ask Susanne or Sida some questions, we can definitely facilitate that. So a huge thank to our keynote speakers on sharing your insights on the Pacts for Skills. And thank you so much for the panelists, those who are here in the studio, and to you, Birgitte, as well. And thanks to all of you participating and to those of you viewing this video afterwards. We hope to see you again. And if you have any other questions or remarks, please do not hesitate to contact us. And you can find us on a web page and also on LinkedIn. So thank you very much for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.